all the dignitaries on the dais as well as the distinguished patients to this event. Now, I request the gathering for Tamil Thai Vazhathu. Thank you. Please be seated. பிரம்மனாய் வந்து தங்களை படைத்ததும் நீர், உலக உயிர் இனங்களை காப்பதும் நீர், மறுவாழ்வு உண்டு என்று உணர்த்தியதும் நீர், வாழ்நாளை நீடிக்கும் யுக்தியை கொண்டவர் நீர், கொடிய நோய்களுக்கும் முற்றுப்புள்ளி வைப்பதும் நீர், முயற்சி திருவினையாக்கும் என்ற கூற்றிற்கு பெயர் போனதும் நீரே என்ற பெருமிதத்துடன் வரவேற்பு உரையை வழங்க பத்மஸ்ரீ டாக்டர் V.S. நடராஜன் ஐயா அவர்களை உங்கள் கரவொலியுடன் அன்போடு அழைக்கிறேன்.
அனைவருக்கும் என்று காலை வணக்கம் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். இன்று முதியோர் மருத்துவத்தில் ஒரு பொன்னான நாளாகும். It is a regulated day in the field of geriatric medicine. Because last 40 years I am doing service to the elderly on my own capacity. The last 4 years we started a foundation on my name, Dr.V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation. We are continuing same service in the mission of helping elderly. So far we are concentrating only the elderly people. We thought little differently. Why to take care of the doctors who look after the elderly? First time the ideas come to our mind. Let us focus on the doctors, geriatricians who dedicated service to the care of the elderly. There are two objectives of creating this award. One is we are respecting, we are honoring the elder person, elder doctors who are dedicated whole life for the elder care of people. So first we are preparing us doctor and we are honoring them. His service should be respected. Next point, the younger generation, young junior doctors, they should opt out for geriatric medicine. To encourage younger generation, we started this award in the name of Dr. V.S. Dr. Geriatrics and Award 2002. This we planned 2 years back itself, but due to Corona, we are not able to do that. So this year first we started. இந்த விருதை பற்றி உங்களுக்கு சொல்ல விரும்புகிறேன். இதுவரையிலும் நான் முதியோர்களுக்காக ஒரு 30 வருஷங்களுக்கு மேலே நான் சேவை செய்து வருகிறேன். இந்த சேவை தொடர்ந்து வருவதற்காக எனது அறக்கட்டளை மூலம் தொடர்ந்து கொண்டு வரும் இனிமையூட்டு மதிமையும் இல்லை ஹாப்பி எல்டர்ஹுட். அப்புறம் நாங்கள் என்ன யோசிச்சோம்னா, நம்ம ஹோல் அட்டென்ஷன் பூரா பேஷண்ட்டையே பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கிறோம். இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் டாக்டர்ஸ், இந்த முதியோர்களுக்கு சிகிச்சை அளிக்கிற டாக்டரை பற்றி கொஞ்சம் பார்த்து அவங்களை கொஞ்சம் கௌரவிச்சா நல்லா இருக்கும். முதியோர் உயிரிழைய டாக்டர்களை தேடி கண்டுபிடிச்சு அவங்களை ஹானர் பண்ணால் நல்லா இருக்கும். அது ஒன்று. இப்படி அவங்களை ஹானர் பண்ணுறது மூலம் இளமை ஜூனியர் டாக்டர்ஸ் அவங்களை என்கரேஜ் பண்ணி அவங்க ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டி வரத்துக்கு ஒரு மோட்டிவ் பண்ணுறதுக்காக சொல்லி இந்த அவார்டு இன்ஸ்டியூட் பண்ணோம். 2 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி இன்ஸ்டியூட் பண்ணி இந்த கொரோனாவில் பண்ண முடியல, இந்த வருஷம் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறோம். அதுக்காக யாரை செலக்ட் பண்ணுறது? வெரி குட் கொஸ்டின். எனக்கு வந்து ஹாலிடே பேஸில் செலக்ட் பண்ணோம். இட்ஸ் நாட் அ மெட்ராஸ் பேஸ். Indian Academy of Geriatrics. The National Association, our editor Dr. Arvind Mathur, our full ad கொடுத்தோம். This journal goes to all over India to the geriatricians. So அவங்ககிட்ட எங்களுக்கு நிறைய அப்ளிகேஷன் இருக்குது. We have a committee. அதில் செலக்ட் பண்ணி ஜூரி போட்டு ஒரு செலக்ட் பண்ணி பார்த்தால the first person came for the award is Dr. Arvind Mathur from Jodhpur. ஓகே, அரவிந்த் மாத்தூர் செலக்ட் பண்ணிட்டோம், அவார்ட் செலக்ட் பண்ணிட்டோம். என்னைக்கு கொடுக்குறதுன்னு ஒரு பிளான் பண்ணோம். கொடுக்குற நாள் நல்லா இருக்கணும் அப்படின்னு பார்க்கும்போது இன்னைக்கு தேசிய மருத்துவர் நாள், நேஷனல் டாக்டர்ஸ் டே, டே, தேசிய மருத்துவர் நாள். எப்படின்னா இந்த ஜூலை 10 தான் டாக்டர் V.S. ராய், ஃபேமஸ் டாக்டர், ஃபேமஸ் பொலிட்டிஷியன், அவர் பிறந்தது ஜூலை 1, இறந்தது ஜூலை 1. அந்த நாள் கோயின்சிடன்ட் பண்ணுறதுக்காக சென்ட்ரல் கவர்மெண்ட்ல அவர் பேரில் டாக்டர் V.S. ராய் நேஷனல் அவார்ட் போட்டிருந்தாங்க. அது ரொம்ப ப்ரெஸ்டீஜியஸ் அவார்ட், ஒன்லி ஃபார் டாக்டர்ஸ் தான். அந்த டாக்டர் சும்மா அப்ளை பண்ண கிடைக்காது. இப்போ அவுட்ஸ்டாண்டிங் சர்வீஸ் டன் இன் ஸ்பிரிட். எனக்கு 1994 டாக்டர் V.S. ராய் அவார்ட். ஸோ we have chosen this date to give this award. டாக்டர்ஸ் டேவில் ஒரு ஜெரியாட்ரிக் டாக்டர் கொடுக்குறதுக்கு பொருத்தமாக செலக்ட் பண்ணிட்டோம். அடுத்தது இது யாரை கூப்பிடுறது? இட்ஸ் நாட் ஈஸி திங். ஏன்னா இது இட்ஸ் நாட் அ சிம்பிள் அவார்ட். இட்ஸ் லைக் நேஷனல் அவார்ட் அண்ட் ஷுட் பி நோன் டு அதர்ஸ் ஆல்சோ. த பர்சன் ஹூ வாஸ் கிவிங் த அவார்ட் ஷுட் பி நோன் நேஷனலி ஆஸ் வெல் இன்டர்நேஷனலி. அப்படி தான் நாங்கள் திங்க் பண்ணோம். அவார்டு கொடுக்குற பர்சன் தேசிய அளவிலும் உலகம் பரவாக இருக்கணும், வெல் நோன் பர்சனாக இருக்கணும், எக்ஸலன்ஸ் இன் சர்வீஸாக இருக்கணும். அப்போ தோணுது ஒரே ஒரு பர்சன் தான் டாக்டர் சுதா தேசிய அவர்கள். செகண்ட் ஆல்டர்னேட்டிவ் எதுவுமே வரல. எங்கள் கமிட்டியாக வச்ச உடனே யுனானிமஸ் கால் டாக்டர் சுதா தேசிய. அது பாருங்க, லக்கு பாருங்க, ஒன்லி 3 days எங்களுக்கு கால். நான் டைட் ஷெட்யூல் போகிறேன். ரெடிலி அக்செப்டட் சார், நீங்கள் கூப்பிட்றீங்க, நான் கண்டிப்பாக வரேன், அவ்வளோதான். பட் ஓவர். ஸோ அந்த ஃபங்க்ஷன் எல்லாத்தையும் வச்சுக்கிறோம். அடுத்து இது ஃபண்ட் வேணும். ஆனால் இட்ஸ் a national award, is going to happen, every year is going to happen. So we created a national SEVA corpus fund. So 2 years முன்னாடி அனௌன்ஸ் பண்ணோம். ஒரு நிறைய பேர் அந்த ஃபண்டு கொடுத்துட்டு இருந்தாங்க. அவங்களே வரவேற்கிறேன். மேடம் டாக்டர் சேஷியை வெல்கம் பண்ணுறேன், இந்த டோனேட்ஸையும் வெல்கம் பண்ணுறேன், டாக்டர் அரவிந்த் மாத்தூர் அவர்களையும் வெல்கம் பண்ணுறேன். ப்ளஸ் நிறைய பேர் இருந்துட்டாங்க. இதில் நர்சஸ், பிசியோதெரபிஸ்ட், ஜீரியாட்ரிஷியன்ஸ் நிறைய பேர் இருந்துட்டாங்க. அவங்க எல்லாரும் இண்டிவிஜுவல் பேரை சொல்ல முடியல, அவங்க எல்லாம் வரவேற்கிறேன். கடைசியாக வைஸ்டாண்டர் அவர்களுக்கு ஒரு ரிக்வெஸ்ட். இப்போ elderly population increase, not only urban, more in the rural areas. Even the migration from the elderly from the rural area to city, till the 60% of the elderly people are in the rural areas. அவங்களுக்கு தான் உடம்பு சரியில்லை, பஸ்ஸில் எங்கே போகிறாங்க? பிரைமரி ஹெல்த் போகிறாங்க. பிரைமரி ஹெல்த் பண்ணுற இருக்கிற டாக்டர் யார்? MBBS கிராஜுவேட்ஸ். அவங்களுக்கு ஜீரியாட்ரிக்ஸ் பற்றி எதுவுமே தெரியறது வாய்ப்பு இல்லை. ஸோ அவங்க தெரிஞ்சாலும் ட்ரீட் பண்ணுறாங்க. தட் ஒன்ட் பி கம்ப்ளீட் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட். ஸோ கவர்மெண்ட் வில் அப்ரிசியேட் எல்லா மெடிக்கல் காலேஜையும், ஆல் த மெடிக்கல் காலேஜையும் கிரியேட்டட் ஜீரியாட்ரிக் யூனிட், தி போஸ்ட் ஜீரியாட்ரிக் physician as a head of the HOD. But rural area பார்த்தீங்கன்னா only the MBBS doctors are there. You will go to the general hospital or any hospital, you can see elderly people are the patient. நீங்கள் ஆர்த்தோபி போங்க, இல்லை ஐடி போங்க, இல்லை ரொமட்டாலஜி போங்க, ஆர்த்தோபெடிக் போங்க. இட்ஸ் ஒன்லி elderly people. So there are more number of elderly people. அவங்களை பார்த்து எப்படி ஜீரியாட்ரிக் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணும்போது 1996 there are only 2 PGs are set selected for the MD Geriatrics. Now luckily there are 9 PGs in the MMC college now. For 9 PGs, 1 month back I went to the geriatric unit to see my new PGs. I could see 3 years ago 24 PGs are there. The patients is 20 now. The PGs are 24. There is a very good response for the MD Geriatrics. But what I want to convey to Vice Chancellor, this MBBS students should know about the geriatrics. Before they come to the surgery and practice, they must know basics of geriatrics. I request they include the geriatric for undergraduate curriculum, so that when they come out, they have some basic knowledge of the geriatric medicine. So once again, again I warmly welcome you all for coming this function. Thank you very much for kind cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now it's my immense pleasure to invite our pillar of strength of Dr.V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation, co-founder Mr. Rajashekar Manimaran, to address about the Geriatrics SEVA RATHNA Award. Please, sir.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody. It is my proud privilege to stand in front of you as the co-founder and managing trustee of Dr. V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation and give you the information about the Geriatric SEVA RATHNA Award. So as you all know, Dr. V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation is culmination of 4 decades of dedicated geriatric care services by senior geriatrician Padma Shri Dr.V.S. Natarajan. Being the only socio-medical organization in the domain, the foundation approaches the cause of elder welfare on a holistic manner to achieve the vision of happy elderhood. In order to create a large pool of skills and services for the care of the elderly, the foundation involves itself extensively in the skill development, home healthcare services, and community development domains. The Geriatric SEVA RATHNA Award aims to felicitate geriatricians for their contributions to elder welfare through selfless service, innovations for increased efficiency, affordability, and improved performance of geriatric care delivery at large. The award is conceptualized by our founder and chairman, Dr. V.S. Natarajan, as you know, who is regarded as Father of Geriatrics. The Geriatric SEVA RATHNA Award will be the definitive recognition for contribution for elder care in the country. Selfless service, innovation, sustainability and scalability forms the 4 criteria for evaluation of the awardee. It is my proud privilege to read the citation of Dr. Arvind Mathur, who is the very first recipient of this prestigious award. Dr. V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation Geriatric SEVA RATHNA Award 2022. Conferred on Dr. Arvind Mathur, MBBS MD. Dr. Arvind Mathur is the ex-principal and controller, professor of medicine, Dr. S.N. Medical College, Jodhpur. He is also the director, Asian Center for Medical Education, Research and Innovation. Dr. Arvind Mathur is an astute physician and popular teacher, has been actively engaged in teaching, clinical work and health research for the past 46 years. He is the recipient of the prestigious Talent Search Scheme Senior Research Fellowship Award by the Indian Council of Medical Research. Dr. Arvind Mathur started the geriatric clinic at MDM Hospital of Dr. S.N. Medical College, Jodhpur in March 2000. He actively took part in developing the facilities for holistic geriatric care and education in that region. He was a member of the National Consultation for developing the National Program for Healthcare of the Elderly in India. Dr. Arvind Mathur is one of the founding members of Indian Academy of Geriatrics and also its past president. He is the editor of the Journal of Indian Academy of Geriatrics. Dr. Arvind Mathur undertook research studies about locally relevant clinical issues that impacted clinical practice. He was one of the investigators and editor of WHO MOHFW multicentric study to establish epidemiological data on health problems among elderly in India. Dr. Arvind Mathur conducted a study to pre-test the WHO questionnaire for the study on global aging and adult health, SAGE, which is a landmark study of WHO on aging. In continuation to this, he undertook SAGE sub-studies for WHO to validate physical activity and well-being among the elderly. Realizing the importance and challenges of long-term care and caregiving for elders in rural areas, he undertook studies addressing need assessment, caregiving stress, and home-based interventions for the skill development of informal caregivers. Based on the studies, he developed an innovative healthcare delivery model for the elderly in the rural community. Dr. Arvind Mathur is a member of the WHO Clinical Consortium for Healthy Aging, WHO Global Network for Long-Term Care, and the expert panel for aging in WHO SEVA. He has trained several physicians, nurses, and caregivers to care for the elderly. He was invited by the WHO to train doctors and nurses at Timor-Leste in geriatrics in 2014. He has conducted training of master trainers on integrated care for older people, ICO, for physicians from Southeast Asia. His pilot study to implement ICO has been cited in the WHO report. Currently, he is the director of Asian Center for Medical Education, Research and Innovation, a non-profit trust aiming to improve people's health by imparting medical education, conducting research on relevant health issues, and developing innovative ways of improving healthcare delivery. ACMERI has conducted medical camps in rural areas, performed community-based assessments for older people, provided assistive devices, and imparted home-based training to informal caregivers. He is also the founder of the Caregivers Asha Foundation, Caregivers Asha Society, which works towards improving the quality of lives of both the family caregivers as well as the care recipients by providing appropriate support through practical skill building and information. Caregivers Asha Society undertakes advocacy for proper recognition of the services of family caregivers and their issues. His latest book on caregiving for the elderly has been published in 3 languages, English, Tamil and Hindi. Each one of you have been given a copy of the book. So you can see the in-depth study that has been gone into composing the book. In recognition of this and much more, and wishing that he continues to offer his human services to the elderly for many more years, Dr. V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation deems it an honor to present this Geriatric SEVA RATHNA Award 2022 to Dr. Arvind Mathur on this, the first day of July 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request the audience to give a big round of applause for Dr. Arvind Mathur, sir, for his remarkable work on the Geriatric Society. Thank you so much, sir. We asked God for a flower and God gave us a bouquet. We asked God for a day and God gave us this whole day. We asked God for a true love and God gave us that too. We asked God for an angel and gave us a Dr. Sudha Seshe, ma'am. So to make this occasion more happier, I would be glad to request Dr. V.S. Natarajan sir to honor our chief guest by presenting a shawl and a bouquet as a token of love and respect. He's a Spanish professor, ma'am.
So you could also join in the program. Please, yeah.
Thank you, sir. In recognition of his tremendous and tireless contributions to the Geriatric Society, Dr. V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation feels proud to honor Dr. Arvind Mathur. Now I request Dr. Natarajan sir to honor our guest by presenting a shawl with a big round of applause. And a bouquet. And with a beautiful garland. Thank you, sir. Next comes the most awaited event of the show. Dr. V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation pleased to announce that Dr. Arvind Mathur has been chosen as this year's recipient of Geriatrics SEVA RATHNA Award 2022 with a big round of applause. Now I request our chief guest, Dr. Sudha ma'am, to hand over the citation to Dr. Arvind Mathur in recognition of his outstanding performance, dedication and professionalism and humanity towards the society. Thank you, dignitaries. Yes, we all give a standing ovation to Dr. Arvind Mathur for his remarkable work for the Geriatric Society. Thank you. Please be seated. Now it's time for our chief guest address. Being veteran doctor, brilliant orator, dynamic woman who has mastered various roles with ease, pursued a bachelor degree from Osmania University and hospital administration from Annamalai University, civil surgeon at the age of 30. She is also a part of the International Editorial Board, published the revised edition of Gray's Anatomy. She takes the credit for being the first publishing editor of the translated version of Encyclopedia Britannica. Her career growth has been steady and today she is the Vice Chancellor of Dr. MGR Medical University. I feel honored, ma'am, to invite you for this event and now I request Dr. Sudha ma'am to deliver a few words.
Vanakkam. Pranams to my teacher and guru, Professor Dr. V.S. Natarajan. Respected Dr. Mathur, respected members of the Professor Dr. V.S. Natarajan Trust, Thiruchellappan, who would be delivering the vote of thanks, Thirurajshekaran Manimaran, the co-founder and the managing trustee of Dr. V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation, members of various organizations which have come in for this program today, most importantly, senior gurus of the community and the society, and my friends. It is my privilege to be here today, but at the outset, let me apologize to all of you for having arrived belatedly at this program. Though I stand humbled before you, I shall explain the comedy of errors that happened this morning. Somehow, both my office and myself had an inclination that this program was to start at 11 a.m. It had been marked as 11 a.m. and that 11 a.m. photographic impact had got imprinted onto me. I was coming back from Pondicherry after a program yesterday, and so when Professor Natarajan called me on the dot at 10 a.m., the first reply that I gave him was, "Sir, I am coming there, I will be there at 10:45, thinking that this program was at 11. It was only after I reached closer to Guindy that I realized that this program was to start at 10 a.m. and I still feel extremely sad about it. Please accept my apologies. Geriatrics, as Professor Natarajan said, had been a discipline which has seen growth in the last 30-40 years. However, catering to the geriatric population is something that has to be imbibed in the minds of every human being. I do see a lot of them here whose faces I had known earlier, whom I have seen perform their own responsibilities to the utmost care. I'm sure every member of the community and the society learns more things from the elders like them who had shown the path of glory. Generally, we tend to think the problems of the elderly population has increased in the recent past. Justifiably, this thinking is partially correct. It is more so because of the change in the lifestyle that I feel we tend to think that the problems of the elderly have increased. Let me quote a very simple example. Many times people say elder people tend to forget things. Elder people forget what they should do. Sometimes even forget what they have eaten. And so the problems have increased. I personally believe this kind of a scenario is consequential to the urbanization that the society has gone into. Think of the olden days when it was the rural life. The grandfather would have still forgotten, not that he remembered those days, he still forgot. But then there would have been one of those grandsons who would have come and called the grandfather, "Tata, you told me that we have to go to the temple, why are you sitting here? Come." That would have been a kind of, instigation for the grandfather to remember. So the kind of defect portfolio that we tend to diagnose today is primarily not because problems have increased, but because urbanization and related factors have led to a situation where the elderly population is functionally neglected. It is functionally neglected. Least remembering the relative proportion of the elderly population is increasing day by day. I'm reminded of the words of Adi Shankara. He said, one of the reasons that the humankind tends to become egoistic is youthhood. Ma kuru dana jana yappana garpam. When there are people around, the human mind tends to think, I have a lot of people with me. One of the reasons for the ego. When there is wealth around, the human mind tends to think, I have so much of money and nothing can happen to me. Again, one of the reasons for ego. The third and the most important reason for the human mind to become egotistical is, of course, youthhood tending to think that it is permanent. I often get reminded of that famous movie song. I'm sorry, sir, it is in Tamil, and let me quote it in Tamil itself. Maybe we could translate it to you. The song goes like this. Aandondru ponal, vayadondru pogum. As every year passes by, the age keeps advancing. But I think it is not completely true. Naadondru ponal, vayadondru poikonde irukkirathu. It is not aandondru ponal. Every one of us keep aging, and what is permanent in life? Aging is permanent in life. And believe me, old age is sweet. Old age is sweet, and this is for those younger lot who are there. You see a tree. The tree blooms. The tree blooms. There are lovely buds coming out. Fine, you look at the buds. And then you look at the flowers. After some time, the flowers close, and then an unripe fruit comes out. After some time, the fruit ripens. Now please tell me, which is the sweetest of the all? Is it the bud or the ripe fruit? The ripe fruit is the sweetest, and this is the ripe fruit stage of mankind. And that is the sweetest. The experiences, the accumulated knowledge, wisdom that this population can give us. Professor was talking about the medical curriculum, asking for geriatrics to be made part of it, even at the undergraduate level. Sir, we shall definitely take steps to include and take your suggestions in. But let me also tell you, the medical curriculum today, after the recent revision, emphasizes on experiential learning, not mere learning or experimental learning, but experiential learning. And where does experience come? It is that we would have to derive our future from all the wisdom that is accumulated in the geriatric population. I think, sir, my request to you is let's do something to modify this terminology and not kind of, push saying it's geriatric. I personally believe someone ages only when they refuse to learn. It is not the number, it is not the chronological age, biological age, and all that definition that you give with numbers. It is only when people refuse to learn. And I'm sure the most excited group to learn is the 60 plus age group. Give them a cell phone, one of the most modern smartphones. Please tell me who learns faster and who learns more, trying to look into every bit of that phone, every millimeter of it, and trying to learn from that. That is the age group which has no inhibition to learn. 20s and 30s have lots of inhibitions to learn. 20s and 30s do not want to tell the outer world that they do not know, so pretend as though they have learned everything. The customary viewing of the English movies, Hollywood movies, very often we come out smiling as though we have understood everything. But then secretly come out and ask, what did he say there? I didn't hear it properly. The population which is eager to learn is the youngest of the entire lot. And I feel that way it is this population. Sir, I still refuse to call it the geriatric population. It is for Dr. Shanti and others along with Professor to find out a better terminology than use this geriatric population terminology. Maybe technically we are correct, but then give some other term, a better term. When Professor called me 2-3 days ago and said, I would have to be part of this occasion, I felt deeply honored and greatly privileged. And I stand humbled in front of Dr. Mathur, whose yeoman service cannot be measured by words and sentences. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us the privilege of honoring you. It is that even the medical world took some time to realize the importance of this particular discipline and specialty. However, every other area of human existence deserves its own existence by the wisdom and knowledge which has come down from the elders. We often talk in terms of the term culture. As Indians very often say, we are very privileged to belong to a long tradition of culture. What is this culture? The very term culture should signify what it exactly means. For those of you who may not have a medical background, please think of this word, culture. What does it mean? Even if you do not have a medical background, I am sure many of you would have heard at least, the result of culture. I've taken my blood and my blood is being given for culture testing. We are awaiting the results and so on. What exactly is the meaning of this word culture? The meaning is the same wherever it is used. culture means growth. When we say you're given something for testing at the laboratory, it only means you're trying to find out if there are any organisms which are trying to grow. And when the culture is positive, it indicates something has grown and you're trying to treat or do away with that organism, cleanse it, cleanse your system of whatever that's been inside. And when we use it in civilization, it means the same. Something that has been grown for ages and generations. Grown by our grandfathers, grandfathers of the grandfathers, grandfathers. Grown for ages, grown for generations, and handed to us in the best possible state. Time tested. They have experimented, they have tested it, and they have handed it over in all glory. And that is why culture, heritage, tradition all become significant because it's come down after testing. And this reflects in everything. In everything. Since this is a meeting of geriatric medical professionals, I would not be wrong if I cite an example which has health implications. We have modernized. We boast our lifestyles have become modern. But we have forgotten what experiential wisdom was given down to us. Take the smallest example of a floor like this. This is a common area where people go and come. Lots of people, floating population, fine, we require a floor of this kind to keep it clean. However, our homes 40 years ago, 50 years ago, we had simple flooring. We had simple flooring that could absorb water. Don't you remember, as youngsters, all of us have spilt water all over, and in the next 2-3 minutes it would be dry. Maybe the mothers and the grandmothers had a bit of cloth and cleaned it. That is all. Nothing more. But what have we done today? We've gone to a system where we think unnatural flooring gives aesthetics to the home. But what happens to the health implication? As we came in, someone was about to slip. Every time I walk, I'm scared. My walk is drastically changed. I can perceive it myself. I tend to keep my foot with fear, not with care, but with fear. If I slip now, Dr. Shanti may remember, in the institution in which we worked together, there was a necessity to build an animal house. The old animal house was demolished and a new animal house was built in a different campus. As part of the administration, I had the responsibility of supervising what was being constructed. And every day, I'm sorry to say, sir, I had a fight with all the civil engineers who were working on that. would say, this is not the floor I want. And they would say, ma'am, you know nothing. You're not worried about the workers. The animals would soil the entire area and it would be easy to have a tiled floor for those workers to clean it quite often, periodically. Believe me, the building was constructed, a lovely looking, shiny marble flooring, tiled flooring, the vitrified tiles or whatever you call, was all done. One part of it was the vitrified tiles and the other part was partially marble because people will have to come in and go and all that. Believe me, 15 days, all my sheep developed bow legs. 15 days. It happened, madam. Just 15 days. And then we had to rebuild the entire structure, break away all those tiles and then make it symmetrical. I'm not saying this to complain about the modern style of living. I'm not saying this to find fault with the construction experts. But I'm saying this with that genuine curiosity if something can be done to think of the health implications that all these so-called modernization have and try and modify them for the better living of the entire humankind. It is not for the 60 plus or 70 plus, even 45 plus, 50 plus are aging every day, and the only destination that everyone will have is to reach that 60 plus area. That is the destination. So can we do something? Think of the experiential wisdom that our forefathers have given us. Think of the knowledge that they've given us. Why did they keep windows at this level? Why did they keep ventilators at that level? Why did they say the flooring will have to be like this? There had been some reason behind. They've done it for thousands of years. They've suffered. And they don't want their future generations to suffer. Friends, it's a great occasion to learn from the elders. As I draw to the close of my speech, I'm reminded of the legendary words of that great scientist, Sir Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton was once asked as to what was the foundation for his eminence. How is it that he was able to perform so well? How is it that he achieved so much? You know what his reply was? I stood on the shoulders of the giants before me and saw the world. I'm sure many of you here would remember the days of our old Thiruvilas. You know, in the temples there would be Thiruvilas. அந்த காலத்து திருவிழா இன்னைக்கெல்லாம் அந்த மாதிரி நடக்கல. சின்ன குழந்தை ஒண்ணு அப்பா கையை பிடிச்சிக்கிட்டு அந்த திருவிழால இருக்கிற அங்க கடையெல்லாம் போட்டிருப்பாங்க. அன்னைக்கு மட்டும்தான் வாங்கலாம், மற்ற நாள்லாம் வாங்க முடியாது. அந்த திருவிழாவுக்கு அந்த குழந்தை போகும். கூட்டத்துல அந்த குழந்தைக்கு ஒண்ணுமே தெரியாது. அது இவ்வளவுதான் இருக்கும். அது ஒண்ணும் கண்ணுக்கு தெரியாது. சுத்தி சுத்தி பார்த்தா அப்பா மட்டும்தான் தெரிவார். இந்த குழந்தை அப்பாவை அரிச்சு குடும்பம். எனக்கு ஒண்ணுமே தெரியல, எனக்கு ஒண்ணுமே தெரியல, எனக்கு ஒண்ணுமே தெரியல, எனக்கு ஒண்ணுமே தெரியல. Immediately, the father would lift the child and place the child on his shoulder. You know what will be the remark that the child would do? All of us have done it. I think most of us have done it. தூக்கி அப்படி உட்கார வச்சோன்னு அந்த குழந்தை ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கமெண்ட் என்ன அடிக்கும் தெரியுமா? அப்பா நான் உன்னை விட அவசரமாயிட்டேன். And that is the truth. We sit on the shoulders of the giants before us and feel we are taller than them. It is true. We are able to see a wider vision. We are able to see the world better, primarily because we sit on the shoulders of the giants before us. Pranams to all the giants who have given us a wider vision, and pranams to you, sir, for your wonderful service to the most deserving population, and pranams to my own teacher. Thank you very much, and
Thank you, Mom. For more than past 35 years, actively engaged in teaching, clinical work, research for the Geriatric Society, excellent academic career, recipient of the Award of Talent Search Scheme Senior Research Fellowship by Indian Council of Medical Research during his studies. He is also the founder of Caregivers Asha Society. The objective of the society is to improve the quality of care, quality of the life of the caregivers and family members. His latest book on caregiving for the elderly has been published in 3 languages, English, Tamil and Hindi. So with this,
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Madam Dr. Sudha Session, our revered Padma Shri Dr.V.S. Natarajan sir, Mr. Chalapan, Mr. Rajashekar, and all our senior members of society and friends. It's indeed a moving moment for me to have been bestowed this particular award. It's a big honor to me, ma'am, and I'm humbled by the blessings of Professor V.S. Natarajan sir. Sir, we started practice long back in a different part of the country. We always looked up to Sir, Professor V.S. Natarajan sir, for the way he worked for the older people and his holistic approach. So we have been your student from that time, sir. And it is my momentous day today when you have given blessings. The projects which Professor V.S. Natarajan sir has continued even after his retirement, that has been the guiding way for us to work in community and to have home-based care also. Whatever we have been trying to do for the caregivers, we got our we started with this idea only that the caregiving is the most important part of the old age care also. So that's what we have been trying to do. Sir, with this blessings today, that is becoming an important booster for us to continue to work in this particular field and try and do whatever little we can do for the care of the elderly. Geriatrics, as ma'am has said, that it need not be considered as a negative term, that it has all positive thing, and and we have also trying to work on long-term care of the older people. And we always try to tell that this is one intervention which is going to be good for the society, because we are going to have help for the caregivers and also improve the quality of the care recipients, and also improve their participation, social participation and contribution to the society. Will continue with that also. Sir, again, I would like to pay my regards and thanks for having given this honor to me. I'm humbled and so really moved, and that's why I don't have many words to say at this moment. It's a day where I just never imagined that Professor V.S. Natarajan sir would bestow his blessings in this form to us. I thank you very much, sir, and I'm honored for the presence of Madam, who has that has been another booster for me. I have received this award from her. I thank you all for being with us today and have blessed me. And I think it's rather my moral duty to continue to work for this particular cause. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Doctor. Now I take a special honor to thank our donors. Dear donors, thank you for your great generosity. We, Dr.V.S. Natarajan Geriatric Foundation, greatly appreciate your donation and your sacrifice. Your support helps us to further our vision to be achieved. Now I call upon our donor names and I request them to come forward and share some few words about the foundation and your services. I request Mr. J. Kalyan